Due to the nature of strong language in today's episode, viewer discretion is advised. Today on Blissfully Tea Drunk With. Welcome to the fifth and final season of Blissfully Tea Drunk With. As you may know, this is the final season of the talk show, but Luke here is the first of the final musical residences for the talk show itself. So hello, Luke. How are you?
Hello, Cody. Doing well.
Great. I thought that sounded amazing. You did a fantastic job playing the introduction, and you got the melody perfect. But the talk show is a little bit more lively and uppity. So can we try that again, but maybe with, a little more, happy, a little more uppity or happiness. Let's try that one more time, if that's okay with you. That was the melody. I get that. But maybe try it one more time. Maybe less like Bridgerton-y, maybe less Downton Abbey and The Crown, and maybe a little bit more like less Victorian, more modern. Well, let's try it again. All right, I see you took creative freedom there with that. I thought maybe we go in a different direction of creative freedom, or maybe this creative freedom isn't it for this. Maybe we try it one more time and do it more like a talk show, because this is the talk show. So let's try it one more time, like more talk showy, more like straightforward-y. Let's just try this one more time. Well, let's just move on to the first panel of the last season. Let's just go ahead and move on to the panel. Let's go on over.
Cody, I quit.
So welcome to the first panel of the last season of Blissfully Tea Drunk With. To my right, we have Nicole, who is tea for me, please. And usually we have Jen, who is the barefoot tea lady, but she's not here today. She was going to join us, but she couldn't make it last second. So who is also joining us, who will also double as Jen, is Taylor. So everybody meet Taylor/Jen. Taylor is the CEO / founder of Spirit Tea, and she is also the blogger of Barefoot. I should know what my guests are. But you are also the barefoot. You are the barefoot tea lady for today's episode. So you are both. So how do you feel about your newly accepted position and title?
Honestly, a lot of pressure. I've heard great things about the barefoot tea lady, and to put this kind of burden on my shoulders so early, Cody, it's really going to just force me to up my performance here. And I hope to do some kind of justice to the role. So,
alrighty. So, Jen, speaking of performing, you sure. are a stage actress in a lot of musicals, and right now you've been practicing.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've been auditioning, and you've been training for an upcoming musical that you're featured in. So can you tell us about the process?
Yeah, so basically, it all comes down to passion. And when you're beginning the process, I try to get into that character's the motivations and like really what drives them, starting from the bottom up. So if I'm thinking about a dance, I begin by kind of asking like, what is this person's favorite ice cream preference? That's generally the kind of process I want to go through, is answering those essential questions of life. Exactly. So
become the character.
Exactly. For instance, what is their favorite kind of tea? That's just a question that everyone should answer. And if you ask anybody on the street, they'll easily have, a preference for you. So whether it's a specific part or a solo that I'm doing, I'm always thinking, is this more of a Dongfeng Mei Ren solo? Is this more of a Anji Bai Cha? Right. Really sort of flavoring this.
But for the general audience, you could almost say that Lipton is their favorite, because it's what they associate tea most with in our country.
Exactly. But the regular audience isn't performing. And so they come to see me. Correct. And it all has to do with taste.
So we're all there for you, Jen. Thank you, Jen, for answering. That's such a great answer. Now, Nicole, your tea for me, please. You've been a tea blogger since double the amount of time I've been tea blogging. And also, you're in New Jersey.
I am in New Jersey. Yeah, and the blog will be 15 in October.
Yay, that's next month. Um, so I found a statistic online that just really blew my mind. I have it written in my notes here that Newark public school systems currently have a 27% I don't know how to spell this word. It has more than 3 syllables, but only 27% of Newark school children can read. So that's got to be very important because how are kids supposed to know if they're being cyberbullied if they can't read what's being said about them online? So being in New Jersey where you're at, can you read at least 27%?
I can.
That's great. So if you're 27% that can read, then you're 100% of the 27%, which is a math statistic that you're excelling in.
Great.
Great. So Taylor, you are in Chicago. And Chicago is also Chicago. That's right. And the Chicago is also the birthplace for Oprah Winfrey's talk show, The Oprah Winfrey Show.
Correct. Yes.
So what's it like living in a city that Oprah Winfrey discovered?
Well, and I think her channel was, the OWN, I want to say.
Yeah.
We definitely feel the Oprah effect in Chicago to this day. And I would say, there's one building, in fact, that's by the lake that every time you pass it, people just call it in Chicago the Oprah building. It's kind of a very weirdly shaped with different outcroppings.
Oh,
and it's
I know this building.
It's quite a bit a ways from the rest of the skyline. And it's just known as the Oprah building because she once lived there in the penthouse, but by no means built it or.
No, I've been in this building before, and I believe when I was there, they called it the Chicago Athletic Association, which is a very weird name to give a hotel owned by Marriott. The Hyatt.
Yeah, weird. This
I
is all
went
kinds
there
of
because I expected bougie sports, but they didn't have polo. They didn't have squash courts. I did not understand. Like I wanted, where's my high society, high tea ladies?
Yeah.
There was just a bar full of people drinking beer, watching NFL. I was sold on the wrong thing.
You've got these old, beautifully bougie, waspy sports that you listed here, but maybe they've shifted to more contemporary things like pickleball. I feel like that's a fairly bougie, quintessential activity in this day.
Definitely.
I don't know. I think pickleball is not very much a classist thing. It's whoever wants to be loud with the high frequency balls and wants to be annoying to everyone who lives around those areas. Anyone can partake in that. So Nicole.
You said it, not me.
So Nicole, this year, New York City famously got smoked out by Canadian wildfires, which suddenly wasn't an issue for me in Denver or Taylor in Chicago or Jen when she was in DC, but all of a sudden was an issue once it hit New York City. So how did New Jersey reel from the smoke inhalation, and what are they doing to make sure that New York acknowledges that they have issues too?
New Jersey did pretty terrible. We couldn't even see New York from here because it was so smoky. So yeah, it was definitely not great.
So how come when every major artist goes on a concert tour, they don't also stop in New Jersey? Like Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, she went to New York City.
She did not go to New York City. She went to Giant Stadium, which is in New Jersey.
Ooh. You touched a pain point there, Cody.
So I have a follow-up question. How come the majority of her base associates that as New York City? How can New Jersey, outside of TLC, the Learning Channel, trash like reality TV shows, how else can New Jersey, and even besides Chris Christie, how else can New Jersey make a name for themselves to be publicly recognized on a national level?
We don't want to be. That's the thing about New Jersey.
Oh. You don't?
Yeah. I think that's completely valid.
Yeah. We just want to stay to ourselves with our Taylor ham sandwiches.
So, Jen, the barefoot tea lady, given when the smoke reached DC, how did your people in DC react to it? Because it just seemed like DC was more worried about New York City in the time of this happening, even though it's also happening where you live in DC.
Oh, absolutely. So, first of all, as you know, we actually don't have any representation in the federal government. So when things like this happen, we just have to deal with it because we're not recognized, despite our immense population and our incredibly, deserving and cultured and beautiful people who live within the district. No representation. So for the most part, there was a secondary plan to create a giant fan on the Washington Monument to kind of blow the smoke out, but it kind of fell through at the last second. And, it was all volunteer. So
Dang, they should have gotten one of those HIPAA filters, like what I have, hospital grade.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I have one sitting right next to me
Jen,
right now.
So Jen, I have another question. Now that surrounding cities to DC, such as Baltimore, are being gentrified, how much longer until DC becomes gentrified?
Oh, it's, depending on where you are, I think there are parts that already are. But I hope not, and I think with efforts and towards affordable housing and sort of housing equity, we can avoid that the worst outcomes of housing differences in DC. But, it just depends who you ask. I think that some people would say it already is, and it's changing for the most part. So let's make that change just inclusive instead of displacing. And I think that there's a place for everyone.
So Taylor, I also have to ask you, now that we're done talking to Jen, I have to ask you about the Chicago tea scene. So there was Hugo Tea, which unfortunately closed their doors as a tea bar. How do you see tea drinking and tea drinkers in general when they go to a location to drink tea? How do you see that moving forward in big cities like Chicago?
Well, this is actually, I think, bittersweet topic because for the most part, and I think all tea people have this, but I don't want any tea retailer to fail. And I mean, really any. Whenever I see the news on Instagram of another one going down, there was just one today actually in California, but it just hurts your heart. And because I think that the cause of tea, all boats rise in the same tide. Getting people to experience the magic of this kind of tea and having conversations and people being present and intentional with one another is what it's going to take to convince the average American drinker that tea has a place with all of the other beverages, wine, beer, spirits, what have you. And it's not taken that seriously yet. It doesn't drive that value. So unfortunately, when any place closes, and Chicago itself is kind of a graveyard, there's some great ones. Dream About Tea in Evanston is one that I used to love as a younger person, and it's gone. And there's just it really is, you never like seeing it. Any company going down, any retailer, competitor or not, you're rooting for them to make it.
So how do you balance, and I'll ask you this for more of a short answer, how do tea businesses balance retaining people who want to come and hang out and drink tea? Because tea is all about sitting down and enjoying the moment, but also if you're running a retail space, you need to have high turnover. Yeah. But also,
where's the business model in that?
So like,
how do you hang out with you?
Yeah, how do you get people to come hang out in your space for hours while having a high turnover of people while making a profit? Do the three really go together?
It's a question for the ages. And I think that if anyone had crunched that scenario, they would still be in business. And I even think of something as big as like the Samovar group in San Francisco that completely changed to like more of a pizza concept. It's really sad. And I think, on the one hand, I guess the answer, Cody, is that you charge like a flat fee. You say, you can hang out and drink tea. Have as many steeps as you like. We'll bring you more water and just pay us $25 or something per head up front, and you can be part of the tasting room. I think that might be one solution, or having other things, like for instance, Tay Company in New York is a really good example of like having little bites and good food, and also having a decent price per cup.
Like high tea.
As I was saying, yes, exactly. Even high tea kind of ceremony, like a sit down and let us serve you a ritualistic tea service, whatever that looks like for your specific context.
So could you do kung fu in a high tea setting?
I hope so. But
because if you did a British tea ceremony rooted in another country, I mean, it's not like the British have ever appropriated from anyone else ever.
Oh, never. Absolutely not. Yeah, they're completely hands are completely free of any blood there in Britain. But to answer your question, I think that yes, but I think you have to kind of we must move away from the idea of high tea being the classical cucumber finger sandwiches. People still love that, and I think that especially, and I'm a huge
I love cucumber,
so don't. Oh, and cucumber finger sandwiches and cucumbers.
Oh.
But
You eat the
I'm
cucumbers?
not here to knock high tea per se, but I do think that there can be a version of that which is updated a little bit for modern tea houses in cities that could drive people in and have them stay for little bites and for nice tea. And you can put cream and sugar in it. You can do whatever you like, but just making it more of an intentional ritual ceremony.
Got it. So what if we had a Starbucks that only did tea?
That's really interesting.
So,
I don't think there's any money in that idea.
I think we did try that.
Yeah, exactly.
maybe we should have a larger company buy out their competitors and shut them down.
Ooh,
Wait.
That sounds like a monopoly clause. And very illegal, Cody. I would not recommend that.
Did I say that?
Especially if they were closing a bunch of businesses and malls specifically that had leases with those malls. I would never try that.
Wait a second. Do you guys hear that?
Ding dong.
That is time for our in-episode game show. It's called We Are Brewing Nepotism here on the Oolong Drunk Blissfully Tea Drunk With. So today's talk show is based on the indie pop star edition. So in Steeping Nepotism, today's game show, we're going to be comparing by listing out several facts about either a tea industry professional or an indie pop star, because both need nepotism to make it in their fields. So after I describe someone from either one of the two fields, I'm going to give y'all 30 seconds to deliberate and tell me, is it a indie pop star or is it a tea industry professional? And y'all will get extra points if you can tell me which individual I am specifically referencing. Are y'all ready?
Ready.
I guess so. Yeah, let's go.
I'm going to read aloud the 3 facts about this particular tea industry professional or indie pop star. So it could be either.
Okay.
No one is safe here. I imagine, side note, I imagine like half of the tea industry professionals watching this clicking off now.
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
What did you say?
I bet
No nepotism here, baby.
there's like 5 of you
Self-made.
There's 5 of you right now watching who are regretting being in this talk show season and in a different episode. And I can't wait to read your angry message. Alrighty, so next, here are the 3 facts of this individual person. I will read them out loud to you.
Go.
Then I will start the timer. So the 3 facts. Their father worked in this specific industry. Their great-grandfather was a congressperson and also one of the founders of Macy's. And this particular person lives and works out of New York City. All right, now you got the facts about this person. I set the timer for 30 seconds. Go.
Okay, Nicole, what do you think here? First of all, how is your indie pop knowledge?
Not that good, I don't think.
Okay. Likewise. So we're really gonna.
As much as Taylor Swift says she's an underdog. I'm sorry to interrupt, but as much as Taylor Swift says she's an underdog, she's not an indie pop star. Okay, I'm resetting the timer.
Okay.
Sorry.
So we know it's at least not Taylor Swift. That's good to know.
There's not that many tea professionals in New York City, so
Yeah. Well,
doesn't
yeah,
ring
exactly.
a bell for me.
And certainly not anybody I would think that is a descendant of the founder of Macy's. So I think let's go indie pop on this.
I think so.
So
Okay,
we have
Cody.
8, 7, 6, 5. Oh wait, why am I counting down? You already decided
Yeah, we
before
already
the
gave the
timer.
answer. It's okay.
And ding,
More
ding, ding,
suspenseful
that
that
is
way.
our buzzer. Also, what did you think of that card for the talk show? I mean, my artist quit last minute, so I had to create it myself, and I think I had amazing artistic skills. Wasn't that just great? That little cue card. They said that I didn't pay enough, but I told them to go start a union to fight me, and now here we are. I don't have an artist anymore. So, the 3 facts about this person is their father works as a recording engineer. Their great-grandfather was a congressman / one of the founders of Macy's who lives in New York City. You would be correct that this is an indie pop star.
All right. Who is it?
So this is indie pop star King Princess.
Oh.
We didn't know that she could do it without nepotism. Apparently she couldn't. We're so proud of her. We love her for it.
Interesting. Okay. Who is it? Is it multiple questions or just the one?
It's just the one. You have to watch next week's episode.
Okay. Exactly. It's a recurring segment.
You'll have to watch next week's episode for the next segment of Steep'd in Nepotism, where we'll find out if any of the panelists are triggered by me asking these questions and they leave the talk show mid-recording.
Exactly.
We're going to take a break from today's episode to talk about today's sponsor, which is Trident Booksellers, which is located in Pearl Street, which is in the heart of Boulder, Colorado. Trident wears various hats and is also a bookstore that sells their own published books. They're also a cafe that sells coffee and tea, and they're also a venue hall that hosts various events such as poetry readings and music open night mics. Hey look, it's me! Hi everyone! You don't just have to go to Trident in person to try their magnificent coffee and tea. You can also order their coffee and tea online and have it shipped right to your doorstep. One of my favorite things about Trident is that not only do they have high quality tea, they also offer gung fu tea service. For a cafe, their tea is actually really high quality and some of the best quality I've had for a sit-down cafe. Oh, and one more thing, before I forget, Trident also hosts monthly tea share meetings where you can share tea with tea enthusiasts just like yourself. Thank you, Trident, for sponsoring today's episode. I really appreciate your support. Can you believe this? Like, it's funny how, like, we can't not talk about wealth inequality in our country because, like, I swear, like, I have, like, the last person I want to date with, they were complaining about how growing up, they grew up poor. And they lived behind a gated community with the indoor swimming pool in their house. Their parents bought their college and they work from home. So they're struggling really bad right now. Which I guess that makes sense because if you're working from home, you're not really working. So I understand feeling the struggle, but...
Yeah, just like the celebrities singing Imagine. That's what it strikes me as.
So I want to go back to another issue that's plaguing our country right now. It's actually literacy. Hey, that's how you say it! I knew it because I knew I could pronounce it at some point. I knew this would circle back around. I knew it. Okay. So a lot of school districts all around the country are removing books because they say they're bad. They teach history. That Anne Frank's diary is indoctrinating people. But also, when Justin Bieber went to the Anne Frank house, he said she would have been a believer, and he wrote that in her guest book. But
remember this?
She passed away years and years ago. She's not going to read it, so I don't know why he would ever write that to her. So is banning books in schools the right thing to do when kids can't even read? Does it even matter if they can even read the contents of what's in them? What do you guys think? No bites?
Yeah.
No takers? All right, that's okay. Moving on to our next topic. Right now, the music industry is seeing a boom in vinyl pressings of vinyl records. This boom is one of the biggest booms they had seen since the 70s/80s.
All right.
So why does everybody So for people who buy vinyl, what is the appeal of expensive inconveniences and why do we must need them? That and Polaroid cameras too.
Oh, you don't like Polaroid cameras?
They're my second favorite expensive inconvenience behind vinyl records.
Cody, your youth is showing. This is embarrassing. I mean, really, Polaroids are amazing, and same with vinyl records. But I understand why it's a little more effort. But it's the sheer contrast of somebody drinking tea from a handmade tea tray and steep by steep slowly appreciating this, but not liking vinyl. Or Polaroids. It's a little alarming, I have to say.
Oh, I love vinyls. I have a collection over there.
Good.
But the only thing is they're like $60 a piece and half the time they pop because the record was pressed wrong.
Yeah, it's increasingly, I think, a problem. Nicole, do you have a Polaroid camera still?
I do not have a Polaroid camera still. So they are incredibly expensive now, though.
They are now, yeah, expensive. There are a lot of I've seen a lot of novelty toy cameras now, which people love, and I think they're pretty cool. I think photographers love them just for their charm because it's not going to make you the best photo or the most well-developed representation of the light or whatever, but it's just fun.
But Taylor, speaking of cool things, Steap'd Tea has actually released a line of clothing. Yes. Look at these designs. They're very hip. Yes. I can wear them, but one of the descriptions I thought I read, which I could be wrong, it said that they were form-fitting and they fit great when I got them, but I lost 15 pounds of body fat, and now they have a lower body fat percentage, they're a little bit bigger. So when these are so how are these still form-fitting if they don't form to me anymore?
Well, unfortunately, there are certain parts of that contract that we don't really control, and they are for what it's worth. They are for all forms, and if you lost 15 pounds, I think they fit you great.
I was about to say, I love the way I look in them because also people ask me, what does it say on your shirt? And I say, I don't know because I grew up in Texas and we don't know how to read either.
The literacy thing. I got it. Yeah.
Exactly. So Nicole, I saw that it was like a while ago you took Suzette, who is being T, you took her T teacher course. So
I did.
how was it? Like, could someone like me take this course and pass it? Like, should I?
I think you could take it.
I could. Wait,
You
why are you laughing? Do you know information that's already happened? Because this is...
I know nothing.
After talking to Nicole off screen, I decided to connect with Suzette and interviewed the T-Teaching T-Teacher class to see if this would be a right fit for me or not. In doing so, I decided to ask the hard-hitting questions in hopes that it would influence my decision one way or another. So, do you ever notice, like, when feminists, they say, on behalf of other women, I will speak for them when I make this bold point? But did you ever realize that when you say I'm speaking on behalf of other women, you're inadvertently taking away the voice of other women? Doesn't that just seem anti-feminist to you? What are your thoughts? There was even an international student in this class as well. So Tanya, you're all the way up in Canada, and you guys have a wide, diverse range of tea cultures. You have David's Tea. You have that one French-Canadian tea guy. He has a tea house up there. You even have the other tea guy. He has the tea house up in Scatanova, which is, according to Google Maps, out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you have a lot of tea places spread out in a lot of, like, obscure places, but there are a lot of tea people in Canada.
Absolutely.
And you're one of them. I even noticed Marco, who is from Chicago. So you're in Chicago and you're a Chicago native, and Lori Lightfoot has not been reelected as mayor for Chicago, and Brandon Johnson's about to take her place. So with Brandon Johnson stepping into place instead of her, how do you think education reform is going to take place in the city of Chicago? After getting a chance to interview the panel, I decided that this class was for me and I was ready to move forward with taking it. So something that Lori Lightfoot is leaving behind is the legacy of lesbian women of color. How do you think they plan on rebuilding their legacy after Lori Lightfoot? Because she really didn't do them any favors. After being motivated after talking to the panel, I paid my tuition and undertook the classes with Suzette. After months and months of training, I decided to look inward and decide what some of my greatest fears were. This would be a driving factor for my graduating class. After 8 months of training, and also discovering the musical stylings of Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, I was ready for my graduating class.
So welcome everyone. Thanks so much for being here and attending Cody's graduation project. So for anybody who hasn't attended one of our live projects before, the way that this goes is I'm gonna play the observer here, and I'm just gonna take some notes and just kind of listen along. And Cody will, from this point, guide our session and our day's activities. And then after our session concludes, we'll gather together and we'll chat about how it went. All right. So everyone have a wonderful class. And Cody, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Suzette. Hi, everybody. It's so good to see y'all, because after talking to y'all last time, I knew I had to sign up. So thank y'all again. Luke, is that you? What are you doing here?
Yeah, Cody. I've been doing private lessons with Suzette for the past semester. So
Since when? This semester? The whole semester?
yeah, Cody.
All right. Anyways, we're here to get over. For my class, I decided we're going to learn to get over our fears in life, because there's just so much that's gone on since the pandemic, especially with self-realization. And tea and meditation is something that's so instrumental to the success of every tea drinker. But also letting fear stand in the way of your life is detrimental to your growth as a person. And one thing that I've used to cope with so many things is music. And one thing that I love doing is pairing tea with music. So I really spent a lot of time to curate this lesson for y'all, where we can learn to incorporate music with tea and meditation to get over our fears. Alrighty, so first, I have the lyrics pulled up of a song of a fear. So first, what I want you to do is I have my lyrics pulled up here of a song that's going to help me fight my fears. But I don't want you to just take my fears as your own. I want you to come up with the fear for yourself that you need to get over. And we're going to pour tea and breathe together while reading out loud these lyrics. That way we can use music and use song to help get over our fears. So I'm going to pour my tea here. And if y'all need to pour your teas as well, we can most certainly do that. Now's a great time for that. And after you pour your tea, I just really want you to take a moment to just waft that in. Luke, what are you doing? What is that? Is that coffee?
I'm making coffee, bro.
But this is tea and meditation. This is my tea and meditation class. Why did you bring coffee to a tea class?
Cody, I can meditate however I want to meditate, all right? That's the goal here, right?
Well, and generally, we're not supposed to. But yeah, that's what Suzette's been teaching to be. Oh,
I know that it's okay. It's okay, Cody. You know.
Cody, stop gatekeeping tea, all right?
Alrighty, we're just gonna move on. We're gonna move on. Well, it's steeped beans in a filter that goes through a filter. We'll just call it that. So next, we want to take our tea and coffee, and we really want to live in our beverage. So the way that I meditate, I recommend is closing your eyes, just really smelling the tea that you just brewed, and just really observing all the aromas that are coming off of it. And then lightly slurp the surface of your cup to truly enjoy the taste and let it glide over the base of your tongue. And now really think about a fear you've had in life, something that's been holding you back and something that's been plaguing you. So now is where I'm going to introduce a song that I'm going to use to get over one of my greatest fears. So for today's musical selection, I'm going to read aloud WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Because one of the greatest fears I've had in life was coming out of the closet, not because of men, but because I thought I had to be a for the rest of my life. And that was just fearful. So I'm going to read these lyrics to confront my feelings about and what to really learn to get over these feelings. In this house, there are some in this house. There are some in this house. Hold up. I said certified free 7 days a week. What? I'm sorry. I'm not really. This is where my fear comes in, because every time I see this word, I just get a little insecure inside. That what? I'm sorry. Maybe I just makes that pull out game week. Woo! Yeah. You f***ing somewhat. I'm sorry. This is why it's really important that we use music with meditation and tea to get over our fears. And yeah, that's why we're here with tea, because you're still drinking pour. I just gotta stop for I gotta stop for a minute. So that's like pour over, but that's really caffeinated. This is supposed to be a meditation, but. Okay, so I just have to stop because you said I was gatekeeping tea. How exactly am I gatekeeping tea? I'm trying to be vulnerable here and sharing my experiences as a gamer for my greatest fear.
Cody, you're being a snob, okay?
Okay, Cody, what happened? Like that was a meltdown. I've never seen anything like that. That was, I mean, unprofessional doesn't even cut it, Cody. That was misogynistic. I think there was a bit racist too. It was nothing about what we teach here about self-acceptance, and not only acceptance for self, but also for our students, and to look at someone else's art through that lens and use it in that way so as to interpret something that you hate about another person. So super inappropriate. I mean, I'm all for like music and everything in our classes, but that was awkward. And then you attacked a person. Like, what? Why? Like,
am I not graduating?
No. Like, I'm sorry if that disappoints you, but like, I can't. Like, there's nothing about that was remotely within the spirit of what we have been studying here for 8 dang months. If you want to take some time to just kind of chill for a bit, and then we can come back to it later after some review. But that was just, I can't, dude. It's not okay.
Do I at least get a refund?
No.
Next week on Blissfully Tea Drunk With. I can't ask anyone else on the panel that because that's considered racially profiling, and racially profiling is racist, and I'm not a racist. Coming to the surface, and after all the hard work I put in
What is this? What is this?